So by courtesy of a viewer by name Agnes Kwabna, we are here to discuss a critical care ailment called HELLP syndrome. Now, whatever HELLP syndrome means, I have no idea. But we have Juliet Amikojode here to demystify what HELLP syndrome is all about. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As I indicated, we are here to demystify HELLP syndrome. HELLP is spelled H-E-L-L-P, HELLP syndrome. And we have no meaner person than Juliet Amikojode to demystify HELLP syndrome. Juliet, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So tell me, what is HELLP syndrome?
Okay, so HELLP syndrome is a complication of pregnancy associated with high blood pressures. It's an acronym: HELLP, Hemolysis, elevated liver enzymes, and low platelets syndrome. Because
again,
they are together.
Hemolysis,
elevated liver
enzymes,
and low platelet
and low
count.
platelet. Okay.
Yes. So if you put this together, that is what we call HELLP. And a syndrome is a lot of diseases put together. That is what we call a syndrome.
Right.
So once we have hemolysis on one side, elevated liver enzymes on another, and low platelet, these three things come together to form a syndrome. So that's why we have it called HELLP syndrome.
Why should we be concerned about HELLP syndrome?
Yes, so because I'm a woman, I am actually concerned because some women come into deliver, they walk from their homes to deliver, and afterwards they bleed. So with this bleeding, it's quite excessive, it's pouring. So they bleed to the extent that they have their red blood cells breaking down, hemolysis. It will break down the red blood cells. It will result in low liver enzymes. So there are some enzymes in your body that can aid clotting. All these ones go down, and then your platelet level, the blood that you have, we have platelets, we have red blood cells, we have white blood cells, all make up your blood content.
Okay.
So now that these things are low, your blood level is gone low.
Okay.
And so you are just losing it because you are bleeding a lot.
But what caused the bleeding?
All right, so there are some who come with high blood pressures in pregnancy.
Okay.
So these high blood pressures in pregnancy causes these complications after delivery. There are some who do not come with the high blood pressures, but after delivery they start bleeding excessively, and this excessive bleeding will result in this syndrome. So there are some who will tell you they went to deliver and she bled till death, but it moves from just the ordinary bleeding to excessive bleeding, and then it gets to a syndrome. And if we don't work on the syndrome, then they get maternal death.
Are you suggesting that the blood pressure starts from the early stages of pregnancy till delivery?
Yeah, so we have people who even have high blood pressure issues even before delivery, but they are on medication, so we'll say it's controlled. And we have people who get high blood pressure because of their pregnancy.
Okay.
So within that period, we give them medications to control it, and we
Does the
advise
medication
them.
affect the growing fetus?
No, it doesn't affect growing fetus. So most women put on those medications, so that they are able to lower the blood pressures for safe delivery.
Okay.
Because there's a potential for bleeding when you have high blood pressures.
Okay.
So these are reasons why somebody will come to delivery and end up causing maternal death. And it's a major concern. It's like a public health issue in this country. Even with the WHO, we are trying to reduce perinatal, like baby death and maternal death. So it is something that we need to discuss so that our women take care of themselves and also be aware of some of these things, even when they go to facilities where people are not trained enough to see some of these things.
Tell me about HELLP syndrome and preeclampsia and eclampsia?
Okay, so preeclampsia is just blood pressures, high blood pressures, let's say moderate blood pressure. And then we have the severe blood pressure, eclampsia. You get into pregnancy after some weeks, 28 weeks, you are going to get high blood pressures in that area, confirmed with 150/90 above. You are confirmed high blood pressure in pregnancy. That is eclampsia. HELLP syndrome is complications of high blood pressures in pregnancy. So HELLP is just a complication of all these things that are happening in pregnancy. So that is how you can relate it.
Right. So typically, let's say a woman gives birth, and then she starts to bleed excessively, as you just described.
Sure.
What would a critical care nurse or a critical care doctor be doing?
All right. So for this, permits me to use a case study to just explain how it's going to look like. So a woman comes into the hospital to deliver and ends up bleeding after delivery. What there is that the person is referred to a bigger facility with an ICU facility where we can sustain her throughout the period. So once you are referred there, one thing we need to do is to replace your blood and your fluid.
If you say replace your blood, what do you mean?
So,
are you going to pump out all the blood from the woman and replace it with new blood?
No, we are going to put blood on you through your veins to replace the ones that you have lost.
Okay.
And because you have lost enough, in fact, more than we expect, so we have to do transfusion almost every other day just to make sure that you are getting the lost blood. And with that, we do, the critical care nurse will monitor the woman in such a way that once you lose blood, organ shutdown is
imminent.
Yes, it's imminent, especially with the kidneys. So we have to be able to monitor your kidneys, your urine, and that is why the critical care nurse is there. Every hour we monitor urine just to make sure that what we are given, we are getting it out. So once you give something into the body utilizes it and will excrete some. So every hour we are expecting to get at least 30 ml of urine from a human being. So that is what we monitor. We also make sure that at every point in time you are getting enough blood, and the blood is broken down into platelets, plasma, whole blood, whatever the sequences, we are supposed to follow that to make sure that you are getting the amount of blood. We give this person whole blood platelets. If you add all those, because we see every unit as a whole blood. So if I go and take 3 units of platelets, it's just like I've taken 3 units of whole blood. If you are replacing the 3. You're not replacing because we extracted something from it. No. So we give as much as 30 pints of blood. That 500 ml, the 300 ml that we have, we can give people like 30, or some we can even go above like 50, just to survive the same person.
So a pint of blood would be like
300 ml, 400 ml.
A bottle of
400 ml is like 100 ml less than
like the Baltic
bottle.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can get that in a pint, and you can get somebody getting like 50 of that.
Okay, 50 of that?
Yeah, 50 of that. So you can actually get somebody not being able to raise that number of blood. But in all this, we add fluids, plasma expanders, things that looks like blood.
Okay.
We add them to it just to make sure the person is getting in enough to survive.
But the person was bleeding and possibly could still be bleeding.
Sure.
Then if you replace that blood, what is the guarantee that the person won't lose the blood that is being replaced?
Yes, so what the doctors will also do, and the nurses will be closing out the cause of the bleeding. So if it's a surgical intervention that needs to happen to take the uterus out, that is fine, because some people get to that extent of taking the uterus out to prevent the bleeding. Some too, they go and tie or stitch a point, and then the bleeding will have to stop. but you definitely need to stop the bleeding before you start the replacement. And in the stopping, we start the replacement in whilst we are stopping the bleeding, because at one point, if the blood is just going low, when you get to one level, you're not coming back, you get a cardiac arrest, and that's it. So we have to make sure that we even do the maintenance whilst we are trying to stop the bleeding.
So in all this, what happens to the baby?
Okay, so the baby is delivered because I told you the person delivered after and bled.
Mm-hmm.
So the baby moves into a neonatal intensive care. That's also an intensive care unit that takes care of babies.
Okay.
So they would take care of the baby on behalf of the woman, and then they will feed. They would, if you need an incubator, you get into an incubator just to survive you, and then whilst the mother is also trying to save her life.
So what would one do to prevent HELLP syndrome?
Sure. So for HELLP syndrome, our pregnant women should be very particular about things that happen around them.
So do all pregnancies come with high blood pressure?
No, not all pregnancies come with high blood pressure. There are people who don't have high blood pressure through their pregnancy, but they get it after delivery. After they get everything sorted, a week after, people start getting headaches and vomiting and all that, and they realize it's high blood pressure. It's pregnancy induced. Don't take it for granted, because your next pregnancy, you are going to see that you report high blood pressures. Again, high blood pressure is one thing that it's about lifestyle, it's about hereditary, it's about, so if you have a potential of getting high blood pressure, I think you could work on it. Do early reporting, start saving yourself from it. A lot of people do exercises to reduce their weight and blood pressures go down. Stress gives a lot of blood pressure. Everything in life cannot happen at the same time. Right. So relax and make sure that you are getting yourself out of stress, and just to lower your blood pressures. So as for blood pressure, there's so much that an individual can take control of. So you can take control of your life. There are a lot of groups that help with people with blood pressure. There are a lot of groups that help mothers who have blood pressure. You can go online, search for some of these groups, help them. They give advisory tips on how to manage yourself during pregnancy with high blood pressures, so that you don't get into HELLP, because HELLP is very, very devastating. It's very fatal. It puts the family, the mother, instead of a joyous occasion after birth, people are held, they go helter-skelter, raising funds, looking for blood, looking for money, and managing payments in the ICU and all that. So we could actually take care of ourselves. We know people who, with high blood pressures, you give them medications and they are reluctant because of some of the side effects. But when it gets to points like this, you really need to bring your pressures down in order to prevent bleeding. Right.
So I'm told that HELLP also causes or leads to some kind of hallucinations with the mother. How true is that?
Okay, so we call it depression. Some women, after giving birth and going through all the fatal incidences, will get a bit of depression. Yes, so psychological care is one of the things we give them after they recover. Even in the ICU, we have a psychologist who come around to take care of their psychological effects, because you see, after delivery, I think it should be a joyous occasion. But this woman has gone through a lot. I mean, if you're in the ICU, you can see the extent of pain, because they are on machines, they are on a lot of catheters. You give them fluids every day, you give them injections, you are taking blood sample. It's a whole package of stress. So obviously they will go through some psychological torture. So one of the things that we do for them is to give them some psychological assistance, so that they'll be able to take care of their babies when they get home. And their families should also be a bit caring, because all pregnancies are not the same. Somebody goes, give birth and walk home. Somebody goes, give birth and end up in the ICU before coming home. Right. Some people even end up in the ICU and not come home at all. So when somebody gets there and comes home, I think families should give a bit of support and help, so that they are able to get out of the depression.
All right. So today we've been educated on eclampsia, pre-eclampsia, and HELP, which is hemolysis,
elevated liver
enzymes,
low platelets. Yes.
That is quite a mouthful.
Yeah.
But I think it's been very educating, very, very educating. Actually, it's the first time I'm actually hearing of HELP syndrome.
Okay.
Thanks to you. And I believe Agnes will be excited knowing that we've demystified the issue of HELP syndrome. Thank you very much for watching. Julia, do you have any last words to viewers?
Yeah, I think the women should take control of their lives. Antenatal classes is very important. During pregnancy, there are so many things that happen, but once you take control of your life and you have information, I think you can make a good decision on what to do. So don't just listen to what people have gone through to make your case. I mean, you should also take a good look at your health and make sure you exercise, you eat well, you take all your medications, and be happy.
Thank you very much, Juliet. So like I said earlier, subscribe to the channel, put in a request that you want us to delve into, and trust me, we will bring personalities who are authorities in such matters and demystify that matter to your understanding. Thank you very much for watching Demystify It. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
See you another time.